Heat and dust. The twin sons of Duskhaven beat down mercilessly on Jake Reynolds. As he wiped grime from his face, his salvage yard stretched across the barren landscape, like a graveyard of forgotten technology. Broken ships, rusted machinery, and discarded equipment created a maze of metal and desperation. This was the edge of nowhere, and Jake had chosen it deliberately after leaving Earth's military behind. He dragged a damaged engine block toward his workshop when he heard it. A sound that didn't belong in this dead place. Footsteps. Light, unsteady, desperate. Jake's hand moved instinctively to the plasma cutter on his belt, modified long ago to serve as both tool and weapon. "Please," a voice called out, barely above a whisper. "Water. We need water." Jake turned slowly. What he saw made his breath catch. A woman stumbled between piles of scrap metal, clutching a small child against her chest. But these weren't human. Her skin held a soft lavender hue, marked with delicate silver patterns that seemed to shimmer despite the dust covering them. Large amber eyes, desperate and pleading, locked onto his. The child, no more than 5 in human years, shared her mother's coloring and pressed her face into her mother's shoulder. "Don't move," Jake said cautiously, scanning the horizon. Nobody came to Dusthaven by accident. This planet was off every major trade route, home only to scavengers, criminals, and those hiding from something worse. "Please," the woman repeated, swaying on her feet. "My daughter. She hasn't had water in 2 days. I'm begging you." Jake saw the child's lips, cracked and bleeding. Whatever these two were running from, the kid was innocent. He'd killed enough in his military days to know that protecting innocence was one of the few things that still mattered. "Inside," he said gruffly, gesturing toward his shelter. "Quick, before anyone sees you." Sanctuary in metal. The woman collapsed as soon as they entered Jake's living quarters. A converted cargo container half buried in sand. Jake grabbed a canteen and knelt beside them, offering it first to the child. The little girl's eyes widened, and she drank desperately. "Slow," Jake instructed gently. "Too fast and you'll get sick." The woman watched him with those unsettling amber eyes, tears cutting clean tracks through the dust on her cheeks. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you." "Got a name?" Jake asked, handing her the canteen after the child had drunk her fill. "Zara," she replied, then gestured to her daughter. "This is Mira. We're Lunari from the outer colonies. Before," her drilled off, "before the Crimson Fang raised them," Jake finished. He'd heard stories. The gang had expanded aggressively in recent months, destroying entire settlements that wouldn't submit to their protection rackets. Zava's eyes widened in fear. "You know of them?" "Hard not to. They control half the Outer Rim now." Jake studied her carefully. "That's who you're running from, isn't it? The Fang?" She nodded, unconsciously touching a small pouch hanging from her neck. The gesture didn't escape Jake's notice. Whatever was in that pouch, it was important enough to run across a desert planet with a dying child. Before he could ask more, the sound of engines shattered the afternoon quiet. Jake moved to the window, cursing under his breath. 3 sandbikes, each carrying armed riders, approached his salvage yard. He recognized the red bandanas immediately. Crimson Fang scouts. "Hide," he hissed at Zara. "Behind those storage crates. Don't make a sound." Lies and consequences. Jake stepped outside, plasma cutter visible on his belt, as the bike skidded to a stop. The lead rider removed his helmet, revealing the scarred face of a Kraxi, a reptilian species known for their brutality. "Human," the Kraxi hissed. "We're hunting fugitives, a Lunari female and child. You seen them?" Jake crossed his arms, projecting calm he didn't feel. "Lots of dust out here, not much else. What'd they do?" The Kraxi's yellow eyes narrowed. "That's Crimson Fang business. Answer the question." "Haven't seen anyone," Jake lied smoothly. "Been working on salvage all day. You're welcome to check my yard, but I doubt you'll find anything but broken equipment and bad memories." The scouts exchanged glances. One dismounted, moving toward Jake's shelter. Jake's hand drifted toward his plasma cutter. "I wouldn't," he said quietly. "That's private property. I've got automated defenses that don't care about gang affiliations." It was a bluff. His defenses consisted of a few jury-rigged alarms and a lot of attitude. But the scout hesitated, looking to the Kraxi for guidance. The gang leader studied Jake for a long moment. You're the ex-military scavenger everyone talks about. The one who killed 6 Fang members last year when they tried to raid your yard. Self-defense, Jay replied. They came onto my land. I defended it. Fair fight. Fair, the Crexy repeated, his lipless mouth curving into something like a smile. Nothing's fair in the Outer Rim, human, but I respect strength. He remounted his bike. If you do see the Lunari, remember who has the power here. The Crimson Fang doesn't forget loyalty or betrayal. The scouts roared away, leaving Jake standing in their dust. He waited until they disappeared over the horizon before returning inside. Zara emerged from hiding, Mira still clutched against her chest. They'll be back, Jake said simply. Once they search the surrounding area and find nothing, they'll come back here with more questions and less patience. You're to tell me what you're really carrying. The truth revealed. Zara sat heavily on a salvage chair, settling Mira beside her. The child had fallen asleep, exhausted by heat and fear. With trembling fingers, Zara removed the pouch from her neck and opened it. Inside was a data chip, small enough to fit on her thumbnail, glowing faintly with inner light. This contains coordinates, she said softly. Safe worlds, hidden colonies where refugee species can rebuild away from gangs and empires. My husband was a navigator. Before the Fang killed him, he compiled this information. Dozens of worlds, habitable and unmapped. Jake whistled low. That's worth more than gold out here. That's worth everything, Zara finished. The Crimson Fang wants it to find and exploit those worlds, to expand their territory. Thousands would die or become slaves. Her amber eyes met his. I've been running for 3 months, trying to reach someone who could broadcast this data across the galaxy. Make it public so everyone could use it, not just criminals. Why not just destroy it? Jake asked. Because people are suffering now, she replied with quiet intensity. Families like mine need these safe places. Destroying the chip means destroying hope for countless refugees. Jake ran a hand through his sandy hair, feeling the weight of the decision settling on his shoulders. He'd come to Dusthaven to escape exactly this kind of responsibility, to avoid the moral calculus that had broken him during the war. But looking at this exhausted mother and her sleeping child, he found he couldn't walk away. There's an old communications bunker, he said finally. 2 miles south, left over from the first colony attempt. If we could get you there, you might be able to broadcast your data. Hope flickered in Zara's eyes. You'd help us? Seems I don't have much choice, Jake replied, with a wry smile. The Fang already thinks I'm involved. Might as well make it count. Underground. Jake led them to a hidden entrance in his yard, a hatch concealed beneath a junk shuttle wing. Below was a network of tunnels he discovered and extended, connecting various parts of his property. Perfect for storage. Perfect for hiding. He showed them to a small chamber he'd converted into an emergency shelter. Battery-powered lights, stored food, recycled air system. You'll be safe here tonight, he said. Tomorrow, I'll scout a route to the bunker. Mira woke long enough to eat a nutrient bar Jake offered, her small face lighting up at the unfamiliar taste. It's good, she said in a tiny voice, her first words since arriving. Zara's eyes glistened as she watched her daughter eat. Thank you, she told Jake, for seeing us as people, not problems. Kid was thirsty, Jake said gruffly, uncomfortable with gratitude. Anyone would have helped. No, Zara said softly. They wouldn't. We've passed a dozen settlements, doors closed in our faces. Some threatened to turn us in for the bounty. She touched his hand, her fingers cool against his sun-weathered skin. You're different. Jake found himself acutely aware of her proximity, of the way the dim light caught the silver patterns on her skin. Just a scavenger with a conscience, he muttered. A soldier with a heart, she corrected, a small smile playing at her lips. They talked long into the night, sharing stories. Jake spoke of Girth, of the family he'd left behind, of the battles that had hollowed him out. Zara described Lunari culture, their love of music and starlight, the beauty of her world before the wars came. Do you think we can make it? She asked as Mira slept peacefully between them. To the bunker, I mean. Yes, Jake lied, because sometimes hope mattered more than truth. Above them, hidden in the darkness beyond Jake's yard, the Crimson Fang began to gather. Cross, the gang's leader, studied the salvage yard through thermal imaging. The human shelter showed 3 heat signatures. 2 weren't human. The scavenger lied, Cross growled to his assembled warriors. At dawn, we burn his entire operation to the ground. The Lunari will watch her human protector die, and then she'll give us what we want. 40 raiders checked weapons and vehicles, preparing for an assault that would leave nothing standing. In the tunnels below, unaware of the gathering storm, Jake made a silent promise. Whatever came tomorrow, Zara and Mira would survive it, even if he didn't. Stand against the storm. Dawn preparation. Jake woke before sunrise, instinct screaming warnings his conscious mind took seconds to process. He climbed quietly from the underground shelter, leaving Zara and Mira sleeping, and emerged into the pre-dawn darkness. What he saw made his blood run cold. Lights, dozens of them, surrounding his salvage yard in a wide circle. The Crimson Fang had come with an army. He scrambled back down, shaking Zara awake. They're here. At least 40, maybe more. Zara's amber eyes widened with terror. She clutched Mira, who was just beginning to stir. We should run through the tunnels. They'll have the exits covered, Jake said, his military training kicking in. They're not taking chances this time. He moved to a storage locker, pulling out weapons he'd hoped never to use again. Modified plasma rifles, homemade explosives, a stockpile built from years of salvaging military wreckage. What are you doing? Zara asked, though she already knew. Buying you time, Jake replied, checking a rifle's charge. There's an emergency tunnel, old maintenance shaft. Exits 3 miles east. Take Mira, wait until the fighting starts, then run. Don't stop until you reach the communications bunker. No, Zara said firmly. We won't let you die for us. This isn't negotiable, Jake began, but stopped as Zara moved close, her hand on his chest. You told me last night you left the military because you were tired of watching people die, she said quietly. Don't ask me to watch it happen to the first person who's shown us kindness in months. Unlikely allies. Before Jake could respond, a voice called from above. Reynolds, got company. Jake blinked in surprise. That was Torque, a Bolvian scavenger who ran a competing salvage operation 2 miles north. He climbed up to find not just Torque, but 5 other local scavengers, all armed with various makeshift weapons. What are you doing here? Jake demanded. Torque, a blue-skinned humanoid with 4 arms, grinned, showing too many teeth. Heard the Fang was planning something big. Figured it involved you and those Lunari you're hiding. I'm not... Save it, interrupted Sarah, a human woman who ran the water reclamation station. Dusthaven might be the ass end of the galaxy, but we look after our own. The Fang comes for one of us, they come for all of us. Jake felt something unfamiliar tighten in his chest. He'd been alone so long, he'd forgotten what community felt like. They've got 40 raiders. Then we'll make every shot count, Torque replied simply. Zara emerged from below, Mira in her arms. She looked at the assembled scavengers with wonder. You'd fight for strangers? For neighbors, Sarah corrected, and because the Crimson Fang has been pushing at our borders for months. Time we pushed back. The plan. Jake quickly assessed their assets. 8 fighters total, if he counted himself and Zara. Limited ammunition. But they had something the Fang didn't expect. Knowledge of the terrain, and access to his salvage yard's deadly potential. The old fuel tanker, he said, pointing to a massive vehicle half buried in sand at the yard's edge. It's been leaking for years. If we channel that fuel into trenches around the perimeter, we turn the whole yard into a trap, Torque finished, nodding approvingly. Ignite it at the right moment, cut their forces in half. They worked frantically as dawn approached, digging shallow trenches, filling them with fuel, rigging detonators. Sarah positioned herself in Jake's workshop, which had the best sightlines. Torque and 2 others took positions in strategic wreckage, creating elevated shooting platforms. Zara refused to hide. I know Crimson Fang tactics, she insisted. I've been running from them long enough, and I can shoot. She held up a plasma pistol Jake had given her, her grip professional and steady. Your daughter, Jake started, will be safe in the deepest tunnel with Miri, Zara said, referring to the Tarkonian grandmother who had arrived with the other scavengers. I'm done running, Jake. Time to fight. The storm breaks. A sun crested the horizon, just as the Crimson Fang attacked. Engines roared as sandbikes and armored vehicles charged from all directions. Jake waited, counting seconds, watching them close the distance. Now, he shouted. Detonators sparked. The fuel trenches erupted in walls of flame, cutting the raider force in 2. Vehicles swerved wildly, some crashing into wreckage, others grinding to confused halts. In that moment of chaos, the scavengers opened fire. Plasma bolts lit up the morning, finding targets with devastating accuracy. Jake dropped 3 raiders in quick succession, muscle memory from his military days taking over. Beside him, Zara fired with surprising skill, her shots deliberate and controlled.
But the Crimson Fang didn't become the Outer Rim's dominant gang by being weak. They regrouped quickly, using their superior numbers to flank around the fired areas. Raiders on foot began infiltrating the salvage yards, maze of wreckage. "They're getting through the south perimeter," Sarah's voice crackled over the comm. Jake grabbed a makeshift explosive, one of several he prepared. "Cover me." He sprinted through his own yard, using paths only he knew, and emerged behind a group of 5 raiders. The explosive landed perfectly, the blast sending them flying. But more kept coming. A plasma bolt seared past Jake's head, so close he felt the heat. He rolled behind cover, returning fire, but he could see they were being overwhelmed. For every raider they dropped, 2 more appeared. The sacrifice play. Zara found him behind a collapsed shuttle. "The data chip," she said breathlessly. "The communications bunker is too far. We'll never make it. But your workshop has a powerful enough transmitter." "Not powerful enough to broadcast to the whole galaxy," Jake protested. "No," she agreed, "but enough to bounce the signal to the nearby relay station. From there, it could reach everywhere." She pulled out the chip. "I just need 2 minutes of clear access to your transmitter." Jake understood immediately. The workshop was exposed in direct line of fire from multiple raider positions. Getting there meant crossing open ground. Staying there meant being a stationary target. "I'll draw them off," he said. "Pull as many as I can to the north side. When you see your opening, run." "Jake," he kissed her, quick and fierce, tasting dust and desperation. "Keep Mira safe, and you remember me." Before she could protest, Jake charged from cover, firing wildly, shouting challenges. The Crimson Fang raiders, seeing their primary target, pivoted toward him. Dozens of weapons tracked his movement as he ran, diving behind wreckage, using every trick he'd learned in the war. Zara watched for 3 heartbeats, then ran for the workshop. She heard Jake's battle cry, heard the intensified gunfire. She didn't look back. She couldn't. The workshop's transmitter was old but functional. Zara's fingers flew across the controls, inserting the chip, configuring the broadcast parameters. Outside, the sounds of battle raged. An explosion, screams, the distinctive whine of plasma weapons. "Come on," she whispered, watching the upload progress bar crawl across the screen. 60%, 70%. Glass shattered. A raider crashed through the window, weapon raised. Zara shot him without thinking, then shot the one behind him. Her hands trembled as she returned to the transmitter. 90%. The door exploded inward. Cross stood there, the gang leader himself, his scale face twisted with rage. "Foolish Lunari," he hissed. "You've cost me too much already." The progress bar hit 100%. Zara pressed the final button. Across the galaxy, dozens of relay stations received the transmission, automatically forwarding it to thousands more. Within minutes, the coordinates would reach every news network, every refugee organization, every species looking for hope. "I win," Zara said simply. Cross raised his weapon. The shot never came. Jake appeared behind him, bloodied and limping, but alive, slamming into the gang leader with enough force to send them both crashing through the far wall. They fought in the dust, human and alien, neither giving ground. Jake was bigger, but Cross was stronger. They traded blows that would have killed lesser beings. Blood mixed with sand, human red and alien green. Then the sky lit up. Ships descended, dozens of them, vessels of every design and species. The distress beacon embedded in Zara's transmission had reached the refugee fleet that had been searching for exactly this kind of hope. The Crimson Fang raiders, seeing themselves suddenly outnumbered and outgunned, broke and ran. Cross struggled to his feet, glaring at Jake. "This isn't over." "Yeah," Jake replied, spitting blood. "It is." The gang leader fled, his remaining forces scattering like insects before the refugee fleet's overwhelming presence. 3 weeks later, Jake stood outside his rebuilt workshop, watching ships come and go. Dusthaven had transformed into a way station, a hub for refugees seeking passage to the new safe worlds. His salvage yard had become a community center, his skills in demand for repairs and construction. Mira played nearby with other refugee children, her laughter bright and clear. She called him Papa Jake now. And every time she did, something in his chest tightened in the best possible way. Zara approached, her silver patters gleaming in the afternoon light. "The first colony ship leaves tomorrow," she said, "heading to New Sanctuary, the first of the safe worlds. They're asking if we want to join them." "Do you?" Jake asked. She took his hand, fingers intertwining. I think we found our sanctuary here, building something new, together. Jake pulled her close, thinking of how far they'd come from that desperate first meeting at the water trough. Together sounds good. Above them, ships carry hope across the stars. All because a scavenger chose kindness over caution, and a mother chose to stand and fight. The Crimson Thing still existed in the outer darkness, but here, on this dusty planet at the edge of nowhere, light had taken root. And sometimes that was enough.